So we were just discussing about shapes as far as same measurements. So this is a real trap for beginners where they'll come in, they'll measure up, and they'll have 704 height, they'll have 704 height, and they'll go, right, beautiful, 700, and job's done. But if they haven't put a level on the bench, and I have seen all too often benches running out 10 millimetres this way, and then 10 millimetres that way, which is telling us it's a parallelogram.
Yeah.
So unless you create that shape, a square peg won't fit around.
That's right, and that's as long as you put the level, you can tell whether or not
Correct.
the whole thing's level or not.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Again, always start with your baseline, and then work up from there. If you get into a tricky situation, especially when you first start measuring, is to draw a datum line, and then you can't go wrong. So you literally scribe a line on the wall, and then you measure down to the bench top or up to the carcass, and that tells you straight away what's
the datum line. As long as it's level, using the level,
line,
that's
datum
right.
line, yeah. Okay. So you'll use datum lines for both horizontal and vertical situations.
When would you do that?
I would do that in tricky situations where my substrate is level, and then I've got to say, for example, and this is typical, you've got an exposed or the freestanding cooker, and the cabinetry hasn't been set up level left and right. So the stone guys come in, they put their stone on the left, they put their stone on the right, because it's not their job to level it off, it's the cabinet maker, and he's followed the floor line. So next thing you know, we've got a 6mm step from one side to the other. So here to here's level, here to here's level, but it's dropped down 6mm. And what we can't do in the glass industry is run level, drop down 6, and then we can't cut it like the ocean. We can only cut angles from point to point.
Okay.
So what we need to do is tell Mr. and Mrs. Smith, look, unfortunately this is the way it is. You're going to end up with a big gap here because we're dictated by from point to point. But there's a catch there, and the problem is that when you measure from there to the underside of your cupboard, if you deduct your standard 5mm, it's not going to fit. Why? Because this panel is floating off the bench by 5-6mm because there's a step from left to right. That's a catch which will get inexperienced people who, you'll get caught out once and you won't do it again, but it's best to try and explain that before it occurs. So it's when you get some variations in heights, you've got to work out the aspect ratio, you've got to work out, imagine the glass line and go, okay, the glass is following along with that line, and I know it's not going to be on the bench because there's a 5mm step there, so it's going to be floating off the bench 5, plus it's going to be another 2 because either end has to be off the bench top 2mm. So that 5 turns into 7. So we've got 7mm here, and we want our 2 to 3 clearance on the top. So technically that measure from there to there needs to be type minus 10mm. And if it's not, the cupboards are running out. So you need to imagine that the glass is in, and you're measuring off a invisible line. Okay, so that's a catch which can get people unstuck. It got me 12 years ago, so never again.